Awesome.
this tonight.
Yes, absolutely. So
Mhm.
hopefully some people will see we're live and they will jump on with us. But
Yeah.
yeah, so tonight, so just want y'all to know we have Dr. Caroline here tonight. She is a fantastic functional medicine doctor with Native Sun Nutrition. And you can find her on Facebook and Instagram, as well as she has her own website with Native Sun Nutrition. And so tonight we normally talk about this amazing technology, which of course we will do, just so you know that this technology is just, we're talking about it for educational purposes and informational purposes only. Dr. Caroline is most likely not your doctor, but if you're looking for an amazing doctor, I would definitely tell you to reach out to her. But what we're talking about tonight is truly, make sure you get back with your own healthcare practitioner. This technology is not intended to treat, cure, diagnose, or prevent any disease in the body. And if you're pregnant or nursing, check with your health care practitioner as well. So with that, I just wanted to chat about, so the story I have for you this week, I have a few, but one of them I thought we could talk about is thyroid health. And because I went back in for a scan, I just, kind of a full body scan with the Menla scanner. And so she's here in Tulsa. If y'all need, if you want to get scanned with the technology, it's fantastic. Dr. Caroline also has a BioWell, so she can scan you before and after using the technology as well. Um, but I went back in for that scan, and before my thyroid was showed inflammation or some issues in it. And once I placed the technology on two different patches, then my thyroid went back into showing that it was completely fine and normalized. Inflammation had reduced. So obviously, I still had something there that my body was then working on, with the technology, helping to, revitalize, regenerate whatever was going on with my thyroid. So it's not that I had any symptoms or that I felt anything or that I even knew anything was going on with my thyroid other than just seeing that there was a potential problem there. So really pursuing optimal health, embracing optimal health, and, looking at how whatever areas in my body that need support. So I went back, it's been about 6 months, went back in for a scan. And now, without any of the technology, my thyroid is showing completely normal and regenerated. So now the technology is able to go to and work on other areas in my body, which I thought was fantastic. So truly, when we talk about regeneration and having that with this technology, I'm definitely seeing that in my own body for sure. But I would love to just have you chat with us about thyroid health, thyroid and health, and how this technology can also benefit your thyroid.
It's interesting. Yeah, I was going to ask you like which patches that you applied after you did the scan while you were there the first time.
Yeah, just X39 and Eon. So the
Okay.
anti-inflammation and the regeneration. So I
Right.
didn't use any additional other than those two.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes sense because of the inflammation, if that's what they were seeing on the scan, because the Eon would really help with that. And certainly the X39 could help some with that as well, but the Eon's really kind of known for that. So I was just curious, like which ones were used that there was an immediate shift.
Mhm.
Um, I will say it's interesting because I will say in general, this is an example of the value of having some kind of diagnostic assessment to see where somebody's at. Because, just because you you experienced it, right? Where you might not have any symptoms at all, that anything is going on with an area in your body, specifically in your situation with your thyroid, you might not have any symptoms, but through the assessment that you could see, hey, you needed some support. The way that I look at that is you're seeing, how would you say, the imbalance before anything necessarily physically manifests,
Mhm.
where you're having like obvious symptoms, you know? And
Absolutely.
so, right. And so we're only consciously aware of a very small percentage of what's actually happening. And so you have, I call it a threshold. We have a threshold, and above that threshold, there's our conscious awareness, which is a small percentage. And then there's a ton of stuff below our conscious awareness that we just do not know. And that's, of course, why we do diagnostics, is to bring into our conscious awareness what's below that we wouldn't necessarily have symptoms of, right?
Hmm.
And so there's
Yeah.
a tremendous value in that, because I feel like I deal with that all the time, where I'll evaluate someone and they might be consciously aware that they're having certain symptoms, but we'll find things that they were not consciously aware that they had issues.
Right.
And then, of course, we want to work on all the things, not just one thing,
Hmm.
because we want to prevent the things that we found that they weren't consciously aware of from becoming something bigger.
Right.
It's kind of like having your house evaluated and you find a small leak and you had no awareness that that small leak was there.
Hmm.
And if you just leave that small leak alone, it's going to eventually get bigger to the point where, like, then you're like, whoa, I have this problem, right?
Absolutely.
Right. It's way easier to correct it if we can find the things early.
Right.
And yeah, it takes less resources, it takes less time, all of that, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, obviously with what you're describing with your thyroid, that through the scan that they found that there were levels of inflammation where your thyroid was concerned, and then they applied the patches and that went down.
Mhm.
Um, so you could really apply the technology anywhere where that was the case. This just
Mhm.
happened to be with your thyroid.
Right.
Um, right. And so you said, like, when she redid the scan, it was, did you do just 6 months later did a scan, or did you do one in between there?
Yeah, no, it was 6 months later, so there was nothing else in between. Yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, the ones before showed, inflammation and then the reduction of inflammation instantly 'cause she can rescan with
Hmm.
it, which you can do with the BioWell as well. And
Hmm.
then and then 6 months later going back in, to scan and then it's showing nothing, like no, true regeneration. So now there is no longer an issue.
Hmm.
And I think what you're talking about is so important because our health, if we don't have our health, we don't have anything. It makes everything about life difficult. And so to really pursue optimal health and making choices around that to where you are, it's not like I'm doing all these things because I'm scared or worried that I'm going to get this, that, or the other thing. It's that I know that we're exposed to toxins every single day. In just stepping outside into the air, we're exposed
Hmm.
to toxins, even in our own homes with carpeting. And, if air filters aren't up to date, or what kind of air filter you have, or what kind of water you drink, like we're constantly exposed to toxins no matter what we're doing. And so I value really pursuing, health and optimal health from that perspective versus just waiting to see what happens and then going down the route of trying to treat symptoms. Like you said, the slow leak. I would rather catch it before there's a
Yeah.
major problem and be able to deal with it. Plus, like you said, so much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny that you mentioned health and wealth together, because I was literally going to create a post around that, asking the question about how does the public think that those two things are related, right? They
Hmm.
are absolutely related. Um, and, like, one, you know, asking the question, which one is there, one that's more important than the other? I feel like one can help you get the other. And then can you be healthy without having some degree of, financial, how would you say, security to a certain extent to even invest in your health, right? Like they're very much interconnected.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we've always made, choices around our health. Like there's a lot of other things that we choose to not do or not participate in because, in my mind, ultimately, health is what allows me to truly enjoy each and every day. You know, how you
Yeah.
feel affects your ability to enjoy what's going on in that day. Does that mean that you can't have joy no matter, you know, what kind of issue or storm that you're in? Of course not. You certainly can have joy, but your ability to truly enjoy and do the things that you want to do or be able to do is completely dependent upon your health.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yes, absolutely. Certainly quality of life is
Mhm.
key and very much connected to your health. It also, let's just go back to the wealth factor. If you lose your health, how's that going to affect your ability to make money, to live? How is that
Absolutely.
going to, right?
Right.
So as long as you have your health, you're able to do work where you can generate cash flow to support yourself. When you lose your health, a lot of people are very limited in their ability to create cash flow.
Absolutely.
So they
Yes.
very
Yeah.
much are connected. Yeah.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
in my opinion, there's no investment more important than yourself
Mm.
for that
Absolutely.
reason, right? For
Yeah.
that reason, because all your cash flow, all your money, all your economic security, it really stems from you.
Hmm.
And the more, the healthier you are mentally, emotionally, physically, even spiritually, the healthier you are, um, the greater potential for wealth, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
so they're very much interconnected. And you invest in both. Both
Hmm.
both stem from being investment minded.
Hmm.
And so with health, you're investing in yourself and you're using some discernment where that's concerned. And same thing with your wealth, right? Same thing with your financial, with your money, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So I feel like a lot of it does, like, as so many teachers today, personal development teachers teach that, you know, it's a mindset. It starts with a mindset. So health starts with a mindset, wealth starts with a mindset. And so, you know, with a lot of these things that are available today, uh, we can start out using them from a reactive standpoint, but ultimately, I feel like if you're going to be healthy, you need to switch to a proactive.
Hmm.
And so some people might come in and say, "Oh, I have pain in my back, or I have pain in my shoulder, I have pain in different areas."
Yeah.
The pain might be the indicator that something's wrong, and then they get introduced to this, and then it helps with their pain, and they're like, "Wow, this is amazing." But then they need to make the shift to continuing to invest in their health with this, and it's not just from a reactive standpoint, because that's where they'll see the true regeneration happen.
Yeah.
That's when they'll really see things turn around in their body that will
Hmm.
benefit them for years to come.
Absolutely. Because it's like I talk to people about, you know, if you have a list of things that are going on with you and you're trying to, you know, you're trying to treat symptomology or treat that list or whatever. Well, like what you're saying is that it takes a long time to then like actually biologically reverse age. But if you're taking someone who has already made choices in their life to truly pursue health in all the avenues, so physically, you know, emotionally, spiritually, you know, nutrition, all of those things, then they're starting from a place of more optimal health. And so with those people, what I see is when they get on this technology, it truly biologically reverses their age. So I know people who are my age, 50, and now their biologic age says that they're 25 because they didn't
Mhm.
have a list of aches, pains, illness, disease. They had already been pursuing optimal health for years. And
Mhm.
so we're truly not just talking about anti-aging, but we're actually talking about age reversal with what this
Yeah.
technology can do.
Yes, yes, yes. And it makes sense in regards to you're attracting people with a similar mindset, that are willing to use this to invest in their health, just like they did the nutrition, just like they did
Mhm.
exercise, just like they did those things, right? It's true.
Absolutely.
Like,
Hmm.
right? Like, sometimes what might get you to go to the gym is, oh, I want to lose weight to start. But that's not, once you've lost the weight, that's not what keeps you going to the gym,
Mhm.
right? What keeps you going to the gym is you've already resolved whatever issue with the weight
Mhm.
loss. You've already made that happen. But you keep going to the gym because you feel better when you go to the gym,
Right.
right? You want to maintain your results. That's why you keep going.
Absolutely.
Not
Yeah,
because there's a problem, but because it's an investment in your health and it makes a difference in your quality of life. And so,
absolutely.
yeah, so there's no wrong way to do it, right? Like you can come in with having symptoms, um, and then make the switch to, seeing it as an investment in your health. And like you said, from a age reversal standpoint, for sure. And it's amazing that we have something like this today. I mean, our, few past generations didn't have this, but we do, and it's really incredible that we have this.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just even like thinking about all of the people that are looking into like all the ways that you can biohack, and re-engineer what's going on with you so that you can have age reversal when we truly have a technology that you just put on. Yes, do you still want to add the breathing exercises or obviously exercise, eating right, all those things that they're doing to help support, their DNA or their issues with their DNA so that they can truly have starting to have age reversal. But there's nothing there's nothing easier than putting on a tiny little patch and going on about your day with the other regular things that you would normally do.
Yeah, it's definitely super easy for sure. I was thinking about some different analogies today in regards to things that, like, for example, back in the day, the things they used to do to help hair grow is they would take a brush and they would brush their hair so many times. And a lot of it
Mm-hmm.
what had to do with increasing circulation to the scalp. So
Mm-hmm.
doing, brush, we're talking, many, many decades ago, that was the thing, brush your hair, brush your hair, brush your hair. And it was how it was working to stimulate hair growth is it's increasing that circulation. And today we have light therapy that can do that. You can use these light therapy that can stimulate circulation to the scalp, and that's going to help with hair growth. And we're hearing all about that, right? So which one do you
Absolutely.
think is better? The
Well,
brushing.
anytime you can, yeah, well, brushing your own, stimulating your own for sure, stimulating what's going on in your own body versus, having to use something, take away time, this is much easier.
Well, the answer that I came up with was the one that you'll do,
There
the
you
one
go.
that you'll
That's awesome.
actually do,
I love that. Yes.
right? So
Yes.
ultimately, that's really what it comes down to. Whichever one is better is relative to the one that you will do,
Yeah.
right? To get the results. If they both shown that they can both help with that, it's gonna
Yeah.
be one you'll do, right?
Right.
So I think, it's important for us to remember that because I mean, that's one of the ways that I got here with this technology is that I had somebody that had a health challenge that what I normally have to solve that problem, which is dealing with some of the underlying issues as to why he had the problem, he just wouldn't do. He just wouldn't
Right.
do them, he wouldn't be
Mm.
consistent, even though it was something that he needed.
Right.
So this is how I came to this is this was easier. And so he would do it. And it was a better alternative than some of the drugs that he was on to
Yeah.
help him with the issue. And so, and that was, a personal choice on his end to try something different. But it
Absolutely.
worked really well for him and worked very quickly. And so it was really eye-opening to the potential. And I have to say,
Absolutely.
like, I'm very grateful that I have this today because I just have so many different scenarios that it just offers another level of support for people that maybe can't or don't want to do the conventional, like even over the counter, drugs, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Um, I have somebody now that is a high risk pregnancy, and we just don't want to take any chances with certain things that you might take orally for pain and different things. And
Absolutely.
so, right. So the technology is a great alternative.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that the fact that with the technology, there's so many multiple and layers of benefit versus just one thing, just trying to manage inflammation or just trying to promote detoxification.
Mhm.
It goes so far. There's so many things. I mean, even just thinking about, like what you're talking about, like the numbers of medications that someone may be prescribed for all the different things going on with them. Whereas when you look at what GHK copper peptide does in the body, I mean, 14, 15, 18 different medications, that you would have to be on to treat symptomology of what's going on with you, to where now with one technology, you're able to support all of those things in the body naturally, without the side effects of some kind of medication.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to think about, like, I think it's pretty common sense that, anytime you're overloading your organs with chemicals, it's a stress. And you're doing that every single day. It's extremely stressful for your organs, your liver, your kidneys, just your whole system in general. And so, yeah, there's a price to pay for that, for sure.
Yeah,
And so if you can find an alternative to reduce that chemical stress, and then, it's a consideration, right? Um,
absolutely.
yeah. And we're not suggesting that people stop taking something that they've been prescribed,
Hmm.
but um, but there are, if you can get healthier, right? If you can invest in your health in ways to actually improve your overall organ function and improve the function of the overall body, then many times those things aren't as necessary,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, absolutely. When your
So the
body's
goal is
able
to
to, yeah, communicate with each other, and
Mhm.
the nerves are communicating, and the brain is sending the messages, and they're getting to where they need to go without being blocked, for whatever reason, pain, illness, disease. It's actually getting there to help and support your body naturally is phenomenal.
There's just so many things that are recommended today that relate to organ dysfunction, that if the organ is supported and you know the body's given what it needs and we remove what it doesn't need, that will correct it. And it's they just don't, that's really just what they need, right?
Mm,
Yeah. So I
yeah,
mean, through the proper assessment, that you can see that for sure. And I think it's just good for people to be aware. Um, Not everybody's going to see the same thing. You could look at the same diagnostics for, two different doctors can look at the same diagnostics and see different things for sure.
absolutely. Yeah,
But
yeah.
but yeah, so I mean, I feel like this we're living at a time where people want to know the truth and they want to get their health back for sure,
Mhm.
and not just treat symptoms, and really have something that can improve their overall health over time. And yeah, this technology is
Absolutely.
definitely one of those things for
Yeah.
sure to incorporate.
Yeah, because we definitely see, improved sleep, things that are very common, improved sleep with the technology, better energy quality, enhanced strength, stamina, performance, overall sense of vitality and well-being. Um, those are all very, very common things that people will say that they're noticing with the technology. So,
Yeah, and pain relief. Pain relief is a big
mm,
deal for so many people.
huge.
And again, we have technology that can relieve pain. This is why I mentioned about the pregnancy, right?
Mm,
Is I would much rather her try the technology to relieve the pain than take even an over the counter NSAID.
absolutely. So, what are you using on her?
Well, ice wave for one, as needed. right?
Mhm.
I wanted it to be available for her so that if she had situations where she had pain, lower back pain, in other areas, she had the technology to use and would try that first so that
Mhm.
she didn't have to resort to taking an over-the-counter NSAID.
Right. And is she using double patches with the ice wave, or like bottoms of her feet, lower back? How is she applying it?
I just localized at this point where she has the pain. She's not necessarily having to resort to using them in multiple places at this point. Yeah, so just localized at this point. Yeah, wherever
Is
she
she
has the
also
pain.
using the regeneration and the anti-inflammation along with it?
Not currently, just the
Okay.
ice wave, just for
Just
now.
for the pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's a great alternative. I mean, like again, when you're trying to reduce your chemical stress, and you're trying to reduce the chemical stress for yourself and the fetus and your baby, it's a great alternative.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we want to think about those things, right? Like,
Mhm.
um, the cumulative effect of that is not ideal. Yeah, like we want to reduce the chemical load on the baby while the baby's in the womb, for sure. And you think about
Absolutely.
how tiny the baby is, right? And as it grows, like we want to reduce any kind of chemical stress,
For sure.
not be adding to it, right? So I just love having this as an alternative because it's not just what you do, it's also what you don't do,
Hmm.
right? That can be beneficial for your health, right? Like there's just so many things that a lot of people are not aware that they're doing that are actually is counterproductive,
Hmm.
and they're just not aware that it's counterproductive, which is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Just
list
like,
of don't do, I think, is long.
well, like a great example of, we always talk about because we have it, one of the patches is for sleep and it helps you produce your own melatonin. And a lot of people are taking melatonin. And anytime you take an exogenous hormone that one of your glands makes, that gland suffers. Like, right? It can atrophy. Like if you're introducing melatonin, like taking it orally over time, and you're doing that repeatedly, it could affect the function of your pineal gland over time. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
how many people are being told that?
No.
And why
Yes.
would you want to do that? Why would you
Hmm.
want to do that? Yeah. It's much better to stimulate your production of melatonin, not be taking a replacement for your own
Right.
production, right?
Yeah. Which is
So
huge. Yeah. Huge.
we
Because,
want to support the own production because that's how the body was designed to work.
hmm,
We want to
absolutely.
stimulate the health of those glands. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Your voice is still coming. Your picture's frozen, but your voice is still coming through.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's much better to do that. And we can do that now, which is great. And yeah, that's better. That's a better alternative for sure.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Well, that is our 30 minutes. So thank you so much, Dr. Caroline, for coming on tonight and
Yeah.
chatting.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, so please get back with her if you're looking for a fantastic functional medicine doctor. She can works virtually. That's mostly what she does. And so that's Native Sun Nutrition. So look her up on Facebook and Instagram, as well as you can go onto her website and sign up for a consultation. So that would be fantastic too. But yeah, so we'll be back on my channel. So we're just going to be rotating on Monday nights. So my channel or my Facebook page every other Monday, and then Dr. Caroline's either her Instagram or her Facebook page on the opposite the next Monday. So we'll rotate back and forth. But thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Thanks, Dr. Caroline. We really
Thank
appreciate you.
you. I
Have a
appreciate
good
you.
night.
Have a good night.